What's up, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the channel again today. We have another in our series of Birthright faction or nation reviews here. And again, this is the first part of our series, and we're getting close to the end of our series here on the southern coast nations. And this one, Mieres, is actually not technically part of the Anuirean or Cerilia, or sort of the main continent. Excuse me. It takes place, it's situated basically right across the Straits of Irel. And is on the older continent of Aduria, where basically everyone sort of fled from, fleeing the shadow way back in the backstory, so thousands of years ago. But this presents an interesting country because it's an evil country, and it's available for you to play as a PC. Certainly makes a great NPC country to deal with too, depending on where you're located. And if you're not playing the part of the game where you're running a country in any way, shape, or form, just a fun one to adventure in. So an actual pirate and outlaw type of nation, essentially. So that being said, the alignment. Let's jump into our review here. The alignment is neutral evil. Obviously, recommended means you can play as this country, and you have several provinces here. So you have Brenlier, level 3, so decently settled but not overly populated. Crenier and Dalier, very sparsely settled, as is Gale. Lathier is a little bit more settled again. Mielian is sparsely settled seaward, which is the capital one at 4, and Cerilia at 4 as well. So on the law side, as you can see, you don't actually control all of the law in your country. So Aaron Vamel is the leader overall, who you would be playing as if you want to take that character on. But D.A. Darian Avan from across the strait there is also controls some of the law in your country, basically leader of Avenil. So we'll talk about him when we get to the next section on, I think the Heartlands is where he's labeled under. But Avenil is one of the main sort of contenders and power players in line for sort of taking over the Iron Throne again. Contending with Borrowing on the western coast. So those are like him and Borrowing are like the two heavy hitters of the setting. So he has some interests here, basically trying to sort of keep you on the up and up, or keep you honest somewhat. So you do have him to contend with, and occasionally make some inspections in your country just to make sure that you're not engaging in anything illicit, of course. So on the religious side, it is a little bit complicated there. So you have several temples present to varying degrees, and as we'll see in the description too, under important NPCs, most of the priests here are like rather openly corrupt and basically just there to take the money of their followers. So kind of on the nose there. But you have a couple of temples to what's called EOM, or LOL, as the goddess is pronounced, I believe, which is fun there. But of Mieres, the leader there's Saray Samalin. You do have, let's see who else here. We got CJS. Where's that one? Celestial Jewel of Saramier. Temias Kumain is the leader there. What else? ETN, the Eastern Temple of Nasirier. Mayor. That is going to be a horrible one to pronounce. Quilmier. I know that's wrong. I think that's one of the ones that is like a little bit more Welsh-like in its pronunciation. If you do have a good pronunciation of that one, hit us up in the comments on that one. And there's one more. Oh yeah, there's rumors of a Voss temple. Voss are basically the settings version of sort of like the Kievan Rus. The fact that there's a secret Rus temple here, Voss of Mieres by Piotr Selenier, is somewhat surprising too, and makes for an interesting adventure point or hook, or just something interesting going on in the country. Whether you're running the country or just adventuring there or whatever, it's kind of interesting because the Voss geographically are like at the opposite end of this setting. So like Mieres is kind of like southwest and not even part of the main continent here. Voss are in the northeastern area. So again, quite far there. The interesting thing here, though, is in kind of a good opportunity for you as the ruler, despite this sort of chaotic and corrupt nature of this whole conglomeration of provinces that kind of form this country here. You do control all of the guild activity here, and you basically have no competitors because you would basically just find a way to get rid of your competition, and kind of make an example of anybody who tried to even get a foot in the door here. So that's nice in that sense, that despite not being 100% politically in control of your country and still having all this corruption, you do still have a sizable income from legal and maybe not so legal means there. On the magical side, only one wizard controls all of the sources here, and that's Mystique. And she does control just about everything there. That being said, there are a lot of magical potential still in the country that remains untapped, but she kind of has a source in every province, and some of them are pretty high level. But we'll talk about that because her and the ruler here, Aaron, do not necessarily get along. So speaking of which, let's jump into the descriptions here, and we'll kind of have some commentary throughout for you guys as normal. So the ruler, if you want to play as this guy, or not create your own PC to run the country. But Aaron Vommel, so he's a level 5 thief. Brenna as his goddess, or first bloodline there. He's only got a minor bloodline, but he is neutral evil himself. And as it says here, he's a scheming little wretch. Seems more interested in personal gain than in serving as governor of Mieres. Mieres is nominally was like one of the two Anuirean colonies. So not on the main continent there. And initially, part of the backstory, there was a danger of some of the empires of Aduria, which aren't really explained much in the published material, but there's plenty in additional things that have been published online. So again, we'll put up a link to like birthright.net for you guys. A lot of people have been helped expand the setting there. But anyway, so yeah, he's essentially a governor of this outlaw kingdom, essentially, now. But anyway, unfortunately for him, his domain lies across the Straits of Arel from the Anuirean mainland. That's nowhere near the center of politics, so he spends his time plotting ever greater control over his lands. And that being said, he has to contend with Avenil's influence, and he can't just outright sort of muscle him out, because that would certainly probably provoke a strong response from Prince Darien Avan, and that guy's got more than enough military resources to basically just kind of end you. So, and he could pull in several other allies as well to that end. So that being said, Vommel completely controls guild activity in Mieres. He brooks no competitors there. So yeah, basically he just if he had competition before, he's basically gotten rid of them through one way or another. So the governor says here, feels less than concerned about the law. Everyone knows that if they try anything, yeah, his thugs will basically take care of it there. So even though Avenil does have influence here, you're either so bureaucratically corrupt or inept that not much gets done unless you know who to essentially bribe. But you got that guild's activity generating buku profits for you, so that's kind of where your focus has been. Now, to what end you want to actually try and use that will remain up to you as the ruler. But here, though, you have at least nominally sworn your fealty to Darien Avan, and he does occasionally send troops down to make sure that you're not involved in any dishonest or illegal schemes. And but you're always kind of one step ahead, so you kind of clean things up if you know that the Avan's sort of inspection tour is kind of happening. So that's something, though, that the DM can certainly use to sort of keep you in check there, and certainly could present a major obstacle there, especially again if Avenil does have cause to suspect something is awry there, and may even take leave a permanent presence in your colony here. So that'd be something to also be careful of, depending on how many other PCs you're playing with, and if everyone's running a different country. So you might. People who are going to be like maybe more your enemies might try to create plots that would arouse Avenil's suspicions there and kind of mess with you that way, as a way of interfering with you. So lieutenants, you don't really have any, because you don't trust any, even your own family members there, and that could be something to work towards, but could, again, as it says in the description here, lead to your downfall. And even your own family members are, since you don't really trust any of them, they don't really have any reason to really be on your side. So you kind of have that fear and danger to contend with there. You never know what they might be up to. So those are all things that could be aligned against you. So, and how you choose to deal with that, of course, will be up to you, and could lead to some either more serious problems or greater successes there. And again, you might want to be keeping an eye on various family members just in case any other PCs or other major players try to turn them against you. So you definitely want to have a solid grasp on sort of the behind the scenes things going on there. Provinces, so yeah, 8 provinces plus an island off the eastern coast. So there is one more there, and we'll try and show that at the end of the video too. Although you don't actually really control that as an official province as far as generating, like assets or anything like that. So the governor would like to claim it as his own, but Albiel Island is technically not part of the kingdom as it says here. But basically, it's literally like a pirate smuggler haven. So while you can sort of present a clean image in the provinces to, like Avenel, for example, a lot of that for real illegal activity and pirate activity is happening on that island there. That being said, it would be an interesting one to, either bring into an actual province at some point, or just depending on what direction you want to take the country there, or certainly build that up even more to increase your pirate activity. But eventually someone will probably find out about it there. The capital city, the port of Seaward, lies in its namesake province there. So you got that. Let's see here. Yeah, so in that level 4 province there, although even in your capital, Avenel controls half of the law there. So something to keep in mind. Important NPCs. So only one other figure holds a significant interest in Mieres, and that's the wizard Mystique. So as level 6 wizard, just actually true neutral. So the two of you don't really see eye to eye all the time, and in some ways, she's also sort of a contender for control of the colony. And basically, something you need to at some point realize or work around is that you're essentially still in power because she hasn't really decided to destroy you yet. Here it does say she doesn't want to destroy what she sees as her army. Now, unfortunately, again, we're not provided with a description of what forces you do have, and I can't really imagine Volmel really keeping a sort of standing army, but I imagine in times of threat, certainly there'd be like generous militia resources, and if you needed to organize pirates into some sort of unit, you could probably field them as like irregulars or something like that. So that will be something to kind of decide and go over with the DM on that. That being said, the two do occasionally work together, as it says here. It's just you really haven't been doing anything to help her. So that could be an area where maybe you need to change your tact and gain an actual valuable resource, because she certainly controls a lot of potential assets there and sources. So some of the realm spells might be able to help you in certain ways there. Let's see. Each of the several temples scattered throughout Mieres dedicates itself to robbing the others of worshippers, which is kind of a funny situation. So you could certainly play that up there and maybe work taxes in a way that also takes advantage of that. So as long as that coin's flowing to you ultimately. The priests therefore seem a lot less subtle than those of other faiths elsewhere in Anuire. Visitors to Mieres can find temples of Cerilia and Cerilia, as well as the more hidden temples of LOL, and some say that there's even lost temples there, which we saw in the description. So an interesting situation there, and again, makes for some interesting role-playing possibilities there. Or potentially if other PCs are running, not necessarily like the country like this, but are running like either a head of a temple or something like that, that could certainly provide for some interesting role-playing dynamics there as well. So then a description here, which is good to have some background on it, because again, it is kind of the oddball not being part of the main continent. And in many ways it's nice too, because aside from Avenel's influence, you are kind of shielded just by having that separation from all the other older kingdoms and baronies, etc. So you could certainly fix your internal problems there. Maybe have Avenel as a solid backer, and use his assets to help you sort of maybe take the country in a certain direction. And then from there, you could certainly, if the DM is willing to put in the work there, either venture out into other parts of Aduria. Again, you'd have to look at some of the other things that have been kind of published online. Or, at that point, build up a very solid navy and then make a play for maybe gaining some territory on the mainland. So, you could potentially, with the help of Avenel, really, again, build up that navy and then use that to help him maybe finally take out Borruin, with maybe the expectation that there's some solid reward in it for you, or you might betray Avenel at the worst of times. Who knows? But that could lead for some interesting sort of realm changing possibilities, quite literally. So that being said, yeah, it's the first colony of Anuir, and only one of two that remained after the fall of the Empire. It's basically a largely forested area, so there's other opportunities for making money there with guild activity. And it used to be that peoples here lived in fear of the empires of Aduria, but now basically they kind of just fear you. So you have that to work with there. The port of Seaward, a hive of scum and villainy, so kind of like a Mos Eisley of this area here, this colony, seems to harbor not a single reputable person, though residents certainly can put on a good act when they need to, i.e. when Avenel shows up for inspection time. The capital proves a favorite spot for pirates to sell their ill-gotten wares, so it is the place to pick up any items forbidden on the Anuirean mainland. The only problem is getting them back into the northern realms unnoticed. So that could also make for interesting adventuring hooks, again, if you're not running the game as like running the countries or anything like that. Certainly a fun and very rich spot to generate adventures from there as well, and could make for some either longer campaign play, major quest, or even just random side quests and stuff to get certain items. So could be really fun there, and trying to smuggle it back to the mainland could lead for some other diversions there too. So overall, an interesting country with a lot of opportunities. It's just how do you want to approach the internal and external issues that you face there. You've kind of got to be a good actor in that sense. You still have to present a good face here as far as like the governor of the colony, and kind of like you're doing at least a decent job to again Avenel, but on the other hand you're kind of neck deep in illegal activity, and you're kind of out just for yourself there. So it's really interesting to see how that will go. You have your own family doesn't really like you in that sense, so they're in some capacity scheming behind your back, so that's something to keep in mind there. So it's all just a lot of potential there for things to go in many, many different directions. And so at some point you're going to have to kind of pick what you want to accomplish here and then start working towards that, just because there are going to be various threats of different levels there. You got the political issues there. The temple situation is not really a threat, but it is kind of chaotic, so you want to at least make sure that you're taking advantage of that. You have no threats on the guild level, which is great, so that's one less thing to worry about. But the situation with Mysticay is something that you would probably want to get resolved some way or another. Doesn't seem worth it to maybe like go the route of trying to harm or get rid of that wizard if at all possible. Forging some sort of alliance there would probably be in everyone's best interest, just because again you have no other wizards who have attempted to sort of muscle in here and control the magic in your land, so that would be an area where just having that wizard at your disposal to actually help would be worthwhile there, and you'd whatever she might want in return could be worked out there. So really a fun one, and again you are playing as a neutral evil country here, or colony as it is, so just something that certainly contrasts with all the other nations that we've seen on the southern coast, which are either good aligned or at least lawful, but there's nothing really on the PC side that's evil on the southern coast. So definitely an interesting contrast. So let us know what you guys think about this. Have you played again in Mieres? Have you run the country? Have you played or just adventured in there? Let us know your thoughts about sort of like an actual pirate outlaw type of kingdom. There's a lot of parallels you could do here with some of these sort of like European colonies in the Caribbean. You could certainly work some of that in here in some capacity. And again, if you wanted to go that extra route of looking at stuff that was sort of created since the game stopped being published, there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet that fills in some of the references here that never really got fully fleshed out, like these empires of Aduria that are mentioned. So hit us up in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think. Drop us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And then thank you again so much for stopping by. And we will continue on our series. As you can kind of see on the right side there, we're going to get to the Spiderfell next, the one non-PC country, or territory rather, on the southern coast, the sort of big bad of that area, and we'll get that in the next video. So thanks so much again for stopping by, guys. Take care.